Welcome back to the SnackWalls podcast. I'm Mike Roberts, your host, and we're here to talk about increasing and maintaining diversity in tech beyond the perks. While companies think they can lure people in with unlimited PTO and dogs in the office, we're here to talk about how you keep them. I'm going to throw it over to our special guest today. In a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hey, Brock Weatherup, I guess a serial entrepreneur who's been in the pet space for a little while. So created a couple different companies, sold one of them to PetSmart, sold one of them to Petco, but now doing a company called Metamorphosis. And we run a couple websites under that, theanxiouspet.com, greatpetcare.com, and metropolis.com. So
awesome.
Loving having dogs around. So it's always a good thing. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm hearing from some leaders in tech that finding diverse talent is a challenge. What are your thoughts?
I think it's incredibly difficult. And I think there's a couple different ways to think about diversity. There's the kind of the highest or easiest level is diversity of thought, right? And background. Look, you can do that. It's not that hard. It's, how you organize and hire people so you don't hire people like yourself. Getting to gender diversity, it's a little bit more difficult just because of, I think, what is inordinately, kind of taught to, frankly, kind of people as they're growing up. As a father of two teenage daughters, trust me, I'm trying my damnedest to kind of like, hey, no, here's a path for you that's equal to a man. And how does that work? And how do you make sure you maintain that? I think, and then getting to what I would say, kind of black and brown and color diversity, I think it's very, very difficult because I think a lot of the infrastructure, the systems have not created the easiest of paths for both black and brown to find those jobs. And honestly, like, folks like myself that, are on the other end of it, it's very difficult to figure out how to tap into. And, it's something that we need to work on.
Awesome. So that said, do you think an apprenticeship pattern might work for tech roles?
I think it is. Well, I think there have to be a number of different ways to do it. And so whether that is creating programs to define mentorship and interactions for folks that are a little further along in their careers as they want to try and dive into it. There's a capital structure that needs to create some very kind of focused elements to it. But internships give especially younger folks, kind of the opportunity to trial and figure it out and understand how to navigate it. And once you understand that sort of navigation, your ability to then excel in that is dramatically improved.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. So I think that's a yes. I think you're checking the box there.
Absolutely.
And at least it solves that one piece of the problem. I know there's the supply side. There's also creating the demand by making sure people can be successful. And so what advice would you share with companies that are looking to increase diversity and, more importantly, retain that diverse staff?
Two different things. One is you have to put and you have to define it that it requires extra effort. If you just want to post a job, you're not going to create the diversity of perspective and thought and color and gender and everything else that you want to bring into your organization. You have to actually say it out loud and you need to go out and do it. And it's going to take extra time and you have to commit to that because that's what it's going to require. And then, on the other side, it's just, to me, it's an endless set of networking. It's just keep talking, keep trying. Look, it's why I say yes to having this sort of conversation with someone like you. It's just like, hey, let's keep going. Let's create something a little bit broader. And hopefully out of this, it may turn into something that turns into something that turns into something. And, you never know where the pebble goes when you knock it off the top of the mountain, but you just hope it ends up somewhere great.
Yeah. And even if it's not great, the ripples could have great impact elsewhere, right? So
Absolutely.
Love it. So who would you say might be somebody else like yourself that you'd like to acknowledge as a leader and think might be a good fit for a guest on a podcast like this?
Well, one of the people I turn to a lot is a gentleman named of Will Roberts, who is the Will Reynolds, who is.
I was about to say, I got a brother.
Who's the CEO of Seer Interactive. So, who's just who's a wonderful friend who I met during a time in Philadelphia. He leads a great company called Seer Interactive. And is just, frankly, a wonderful person, and frankly, somebody that I turn to a lot, and frankly is especially around this sort of conversation about how to embrace diversity, how to create some dynamics around it, how to really succeed in it and make it something great and help improve the world with it. He's somebody that I watch and listen to a lot.
Awesome. Well, hopefully one day we'll have him on the podcast and hear his thoughts as well. Where can we find out more information about your company? And this is the time to do shameless plugs, all that good stuff.
Yeah, well, just, our corporate site is metamorphosis.com. So pretty simple. But if you have pets and you want to, look into, finding information, there's greatpetcare.com, which is a site around health and wellness for your pet. And then if you have a dog, we have a site called metropolis.com that we describe as unapologetically dog friendly. We're all about dogs in that business and what we do. And then we've created a new product set called The Anxious Pet. And it's just at theanxiouspet.com, and it's treats and supplements and CBD for pets.
Nice. I like it. I got a pet. I have a dog. He's a boxer. He's about 5 years old now. So he's out of the puppy phase. He's in the adolescent teenager phase / young adult.
So one might say hyperactive, super energetic, ready to kind of go with it. Might be a great candidate for some of our common products from The Anxious Pet. So
absolutely.
Maybe we'll send you some as the end of this. So.
Love that. So, listen, we have a couple minutes, so we can either end early. You could share something about anything you have going on over there, or you could ask me a question. So what would you like to do?
I guess I'd ask you a question. You're talking with a whole lot of people. How do people like me, who, for better or for worse, I was born into what I was born into and I've been lucky to be privileged in my life. How do I find more diverse candidates, especially in the entrepreneurial world, where that sort of risk factor, connection factors, lots of things have made it far more difficult for especially people of color to enter into this space? So how do I do better?
I think the number one answer I have for this question when it comes up is it's networking and trying to pull people into your circle that otherwise usually not, you're not having those serendipitous connections where you're just kind of meeting at the common places at the water cooler, right? Like you're going to have to go out into the community and find folks like me in San Diego that are trying to sort of move the needle in this space. And I think they're going to be your biggest gatekeepers to that additional network around them of people that, hey, I know the sources of talent that are outside of the box in terms of in San Diego, it's UCSD is the big premier software engineering university. So it's even competing with CSU San Marcos and San Diego State University. Even just amongst those three, there's a dominant one in San Diego. Yeah. And so once you start acknowledging and understanding who the other thought leaders are in the community, they can then say, oh, I know these 4 people and these are who you need to talk to, right? And so it sounds like you have a few of those connections, and that's what I'd say is the reaching out to them and then getting tapped into that network and then just listening and saying, what do you think we should do? That's the area where I think a lot of companies, they talk the talk, but they're not willing to actually listen to the compelling arguments people are making about here's something I'd suggest, maybe give it a shot. And they're well, we'll see. And if you're in a leadership position, it's great to be able to make the decision and just say, well, we're going to try it. Let's just give it a shot and see what happens from there. So very cool. Great. Awesome.
I'm new to San Diego. Well, three years now, so it's not my depth doesn't go that far. But was in Philadelphia before this, and was very involved with a thing called Philly Startup Community, Philly Startup Leaders, and we, got and created a lot of dynamics around that was really powerful. I've not found that yet here in San Diego.
There is a startup ecosystem here in San Diego. So what part of San Diego are you guys located in?
We're in La Jolla.
Okay, so you're pretty close to not really. You're in the UTC startup scene area. Yep. And so it's sort of shifted over, I'd say, the last 5 to 10 years. It was downtown. Downtown was kind of the central hub for startups. That was the place to be. And then it sort of shifted up to the UCSD. And it's still, there's a lot there, but it's a lot of the biotech and a lot of the things around research and science out in that area. The rest of it is shifted up into Carlsbad. And so Carlsbad is kind of where now a lot of the more trendy startup organizations are. And so that's kind of where, if that's what you're seeking, if you're seeking to bump into more entrepreneurs and people that are, serial, entrepreneurs putting product out, building SaaS companies, that's the target area, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, we've been building on that. Well, we're in the consumer side, right? So everything we do is kind of how do you leverage technology to sell a product or service to the consumer.
Yep.
You know, there's some here in San Diego, but it's relatively speaking to biotech and kind of, you know, network infrastructure, those sorts of things, which obviously are wonderfully dominant here, which is great.
Yeah.
You know, it's finding that sort of, you know, kind of the B2C side of the world, which is, you know, a little bit more challenging. But anyway, it's
yeah. Well, awesome. Thanks.
It's an easy place to recruit people to, though. That's a nice thing.
Yeah, it is. And it's a great, like, there's lots of energy, and like folks in the startup community are very helpful. That's one of the other things in San Diego. Lots of folks view it as everybody succeeds. So it's not a zero-sum game. A lot of startup folks are just willing to kind of jump in and help out in whatever way they can. So I think it's an awesome scene, but you know, it's different than other places. So
yeah, sure.
For sure. Well, thanks, Brock. I appreciate you coming on the program. And again, check out his, what is it again? Give the website, Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis.com.
Awesome. The San Diego Code School is a proud sponsor of the SnackWalls podcast. The San Diego Code School is leading companies to tech equity. The tech-enabled apprenticeship program is a venture whose heart is to do a lot of social good and do good work. You can help San Diego Code School secure funding for change by hiring developers, bringing a team in to relieve your backlog, or becoming a program sponsor. You can visit us on the web for more information at http://sdcs.io.